Number 5. Cameraman gets attacked by a wild boar. An unnamed cameraman was attacked by a wild boar going on a rampage in the streets of Japan. Bystanders filmed the incident on their cell phones while maintaining a safe distance from the scene. They attempted to call for help, but this didn't stop the animal's vicious attack. The boar kept going against the cameraman's shins until he stumbled to the ground. Once there, he tried to kick the wild beast away, losing a shoe in the process and dropping his camera. The man suffered injuries to his legs and had to be taken to the hospital. He emerged with crutches to assist his walking and bandages wrapped around his shin. It might sound like an isolated event, but during 2013 alone, 8 people in the Hyogo prefecture of Japan suffered a similar attack. It seems wild boars roaming into the city's streets have become a problem in this particular area. Next up, we'll discuss an elderly woman being attacked by 2 large boars in her backyard. But first, let's learn more about this wild animal. Today's video was requested by Matthias Shaw. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. This animal's scientific name is scrofa, but it's more popularly known as the wild boar or wild pig. There are 16 different subspecies of wild boars, and their societal structure is peculiar among the animal kingdom. They live in matriarchal groups, where several females and their offspring live together throughout the year. Male boars, on the other hand, tend to be solitary and only approach these groups when the mating season arrives. These groups can be comprised of 3 to 30 different animals and usually host up to 3 different generations. They're the direct ancestors of domesticated pigs, as humankind selected the less aggressive specimens to breed new generations of tamed farm animals. Boars are larger and heavier built than normal pigs, and they have surprisingly thin legs compared to their heavy-set body. Their heads are particularly big as well, oftentimes equating to 1/3 of its entire body. The males tend to be at least 20% heavier than their female counterparts. This species is usually dangerous due to their violent disposition and their speed. Boars can run up to 25 miles per hour, and they can even jump as high as 59 inches above the ground. Number 4. Minas Safur. Minas Safur suffered a terrible boar attack as she tried to defend her grandchildren. She was inside her home in Feldejenka Satu when she noticed a group of boars feeding off trash cans near her backyard. As her grandchildren were playing outside, she rushed to get the boars to leave the area. Instead of running away, the 2 adult boars attacked her. She suffered severe wounds to her limbs, even snapping her arm's ligament. She described the way the boars lunged at her, throwing her on the floor and tossing her around. Safur began bleeding, unable to defend herself from the attack, but fortunately, her husband was around to help. The old man managed to chase the boars away using a large stick. Safur was rushed to the hospital and was forced to endure a 7-hour surgery. She also required more than 30 stitches to mend additional wounds, but was expected to make a full recovery. Her family expressed concern over the matter and demanded the Wildlife and National Parks Department take action to avoid further attacks taking place in their area. Before we get to a Florida man who was violently attacked while trying to capture a wild boar, let's take a moment to discover where these animals are located around the globe. Wild boars can adapt surprisingly well to different habitats and climates. They've been found in mountains, forests, and even deserts. Their most common habitat, however, are forests filled with meadows and large trees and bushes behind which they can find refuge from predators. They're surprisingly capable of thriving in deserts during the spring and summer. On the island of Komodo, they even prefer to avoid forests altogether unless they notice the presence of humans. They're fantastic swimmers, being able to cover great distances with little effort, so jumping into the water to try and avoid them would be a bad idea. Boars tend to rest in small groups close to water or to sleep hidden within tall grass in order to avoid predators. They step away from their shelters to defecate and use insulating elements such as branches and hay to protect themselves from the environment. Boars have a particularly interesting way of avoiding insects. They'll roll over soil covering themselves with dust and pine needles so that bugs and other vermin won't continue to annoy them. They're omnivorous and eat everything from roots, nuts, or berries to small animals such as rodents, snakes, and lizards. They also feed on all kinds of insects and must ingest around 4,500 calories per day. However, during pregnancy, female boars require far higher quantities of food. Number 3. Florida wildlife trapper is gravely injured. James Dean worked as a professional wildlife trapper, and he claimed to have caught hundreds of boars throughout his career. Therefore, an accident was bound to happen in his repeated dealings with the vicious beasts. Dean was called to take care of a boar which was chasing young children around the Lake Washington area. When he arrived, he encountered a 200-pound boar, which was particularly enraged. The Florida man succeeded in trapping the boar, but the wild animal managed to break free and proceeded to attack him with great ferocity. His leg was sliced open by the boar's tusks. He also injured his arm and face as he fell onto the ground. Dean, who was bleeding profusely, was taken to the hospital by his son. He required stitches over his eye, but the injury on his leg was far more severe. He described the boar shredding his limb and considered the damage he sustained would have likely been lethal for a child. Fortunately, he managed to survive the attack. Up next, we'll talk about a woman who was killed by a pack of boars while commuting to work. But first, we'll go over all the ways a boar can actually harm and kill you. Boars have been attacking human beings since the Stone Age. That being said, they'd avoid people altogether rather than confront them. However, they're considered dangerous animals which can significantly harm their victims. This wild beast usually attacks the legs and hips of human beings, causing penetrating wounds with their thick tusks, though the impact of their massive heads can also cause blunt force trauma. They tend to charge against the shins and thighs and trample over their victim's body if they fall to the ground. These attacks usually happen in rural areas. Still, some wild boars explore the busy streets of certain cities, particularly in Japan, Hong Kong, and India, where they've been known to hurt innocent bystanders. Most of the creatures responsible for attacks are males, since they travel alone, in contrast with the female boar, which tends to move in small groups along with their offspring. Another dangerous side effect of being attacked by a wild boar is that they may transmit diseases including tuberculosis, swine flu, and hepatitis E. Number 2. Texan woman is killed by wild boars. 59-year-old Christine Rollins, resident of Anahuac, Texas, was mauled to death by a pack of wild boars. She was commuting to her work as a caretaker and had parked in front of the home of the 84-year-old woman she looked after. As she got out of the car, she probably didn't notice the animals roaming the entrance of her patient's home. It was still dark outside, close to 6 a.m., so there were no eyewitnesses and no one to help the woman defend herself from the multiple boars attacking her. Her bloodied and shredded body was discovered by the very woman she was supposed to take care of later that same morning. At first, the authorities suspected it might have been a murder, but the bite marks and other physical evidence led them to the conclusion that Rollins had been attacked by a pack of boars. The woman's body had been mauled beyond recognition. The sheriff in charge of the case told the press it was the worst he'd seen in over 35 years of service. Wild hogs are a problem in the state of Texas, and farmers often complain to authorities about attacks on their livestock. Police officers often must help ranchers trap these wild animals in order to keep the damage from escalating. The overall concern, as seen in the case of Rollins, is that the beast will hurt a person. Up next, we'll go over the story of a woman who was attacked in a Hong Kong railway station. But first, let's look at some tips on how to survive a boar attack. Official They Will Kill You merchandise is now available at theywillkillyou.com. Some of it is to die for. More often than not, wild boar attacks occur in the wilderness. You might encounter one in the city, but it's a rather rare occurrence. So a good way of surviving a boar attack is to be alert while hiking and to keep your distance if you notice one. It's important not to panic, and if you're surrounded by trees, to climb one and remain there until the boar leaves. Getting in your car is also a good idea if it's close by. Usually, If you avoid them as much as possible and remain non-threatening, you should be able to avoid an attack. Make sure not to provoke them in any way, and whatever you do, don't offer them any food. If you see boars surrounded by piglets, do not attempt to pet any of them, as mothers are extremely protective of their offspring. Wild boars might feel intimidated by your presence alone and proceed to charge at you anyway, so simply being careful might not suffice. If the boar attacks you, the best course of action is to try and dodge its tusks and keep yourself from losing your balance. It's dangerous to fall on the floor, as it's likely they'll stomp you. If the boar manages to take you down, it's essential to keep it away from your body. Try to push it off by kicking or striking it with a branch. Take advantage of any break in the attack and get back on your feet as soon as possible. Number 1. Unnamed woman is attacked in a railway station. A 49-year-old woman encountered a wild boar roaming the lobby of a railway station in Hong Kong. It was a sight that understandably took many passengers by surprise. She was the boar's only victim, since the police were able to surround the wild animal and take the situation under control. The wild pig attacked her shin several times, trying to stab at her with its tusks. Thankfully, there were plenty of people around to help her before the attack became more violent. Apparently, the boar had become lost, wandering from the countryside towards the subway, when he stumbled upon his victim in the Kennedy Town station. It's not known why a single boar ended up in such a crowded place, as they usually attempt to avoid human beings. The police and security workers from the MTR were able to capture the boar close to 8 p.m, and the service was adequately restored. The woman was taken to the hospital, but the injuries she sustained were minor, and she was released soon after. Thanks for watching. Would you rather try to dodge the attack of a wild boar or go a month without access to the internet? Let us know in the comments section below.